Hey, welcome back, Super Stock Bros. My name's Bub, and I'm joined by Senor Jefe and our boy Ace. And today we're going to cover Peloton, Airbnb, Expedia, DraftKings, MindMed, and American Airlines. How they're all related and what to expect. So let's just run the show and talk about these plays. All right. All right, so let's just get right into it. Peloton, what happened? Let's just, we talked about it last time, Senator Jefe, and we had some predictions, but they've made a pretty huge comeback. So let's see. On May 15th, we predicted Peloton may not do that well in the future, and one of our commenters said, "Wrong, bros. Piton is going to grow and still." And they brought some pre-core. They got some other stuff up their sleeve, and I think he was right. Some of our commenters are right. So let's go back to May 15th and see what happened there. Yeah, looks like they gained about 15% and 20% if you sold up at the high. So what happened there, and what do you think is going to happen next, Senor Jefe?
Yeah, it's like you said, I got it wrong. I'm not sure if Spicy Tofu agreed with me at the time, but I definitely got that wrong. Peloton has been killing it lately. You look at the 6-month trend; they're down 10% almost, but the past month since we last spoke, they're killing it. They're up to $1.06 now. They have a strong company and they have a good platform. Like we were talking about earlier, they have a good connected platform with not just bicycle workouts. They have, in-home kind of Pilates or just kind of aerobic exercises as well. So it's not one-dimensional. It's a very good platform. And clearly the people who run the company have a great idea and a vision on where they want to go with it.
Yeah, what do you think, Ace?
Yeah, so this one was an interesting one. I remember the bad press, and everyone remembers that, and the unfortunate incident with the children dying or whatever, and rip to them. But I mean, usually when you have a great company with a good vision, with amazing advertising and just great word of mouth, you're gonna make a comeback, and I think that's exactly what happened here. And you know what? Peloton is hard to judge unless you actually use their product. I haven't used the treadmill itself, but I did actually, and I was mentioning this to both Bub and Senor Jefe before the call. I actually saw it on somebody's Apple TV, the Peloton app, and they have meditation, they have yoga, they have all of the workouts that you can do without the treadmill. And just something like that will not only lead to more word of mouth, it's going to get you those subscribers that you've wanted, right? So I think with the cult-like following that we all know it has, I think Peloton's just killing it. They're doing a great job, and they're probably going to continue to expand until more of that competition creeps in.
Just looking at the 1-year chart there, Ace, do you think they're going to return to their glorious high of 150 something here? So like if I pull up the 1-year chart, 167 was their peak in January, and they fell to as low as 83 after the incident with the bike. Do you think they'll return to that glory after, let's just say, a mass reopening across the world, like business back to normal? Or what's your opinion there?
Honestly, I'm the type of guy that plays the wait and see kind of game. Like, you want to give up a little bit of percent up front just to be sure. And I would say after earnings, after opening is when you'll really see. I do think that they will recover, though. If I were to take a complete guess, I think they're going to recover and then some. People are starting to realize that with their pricing model, which is kind of funny the way that they put it, it's like, hey, you're signing up for a gym membership. How about you get a product instead of the gym membership, and you get all the other things like a personal fitness trainer and everything like that too. And honestly, it's well priced if you actually like do the numbers. So I think eventually they will win out. I think a lot of people are not liking the whole gym experience, but I think it's going to be a wait and see thing.
What do you think, Senor Jefe?
Yeah, I mean, I was a non-believer before, but now that I'm seeing where the company is going, and obviously they have the big celebrities behind it. They have Serena Williams. They had J-Lo before. So I'll interested to see what celebrity they get next. But I'm buying the dip. I like it. I'm a fan of Peloton. I don't own it myself, but I'm a firm believer now.
All right, let's get each of you price target, Senor Jefe, in 6 months.
6 months. I mean, quickly looking at their past 6 months, they're $1.17. So I'd like to see them at least get to that $1.17, so another 10 points, or even higher. I see $1.17, $1.20 in the next 6 months.
Okay, seems like a conservative estimate. What about you, Ace?
Yeah, I was thinking about the same thing, like 125 or something like that. 6 months.
125.
You know, and like I said, this is one of those ones where I would see the earnings after the reopenings just to see their trajectory and then plan it out accordingly. Like, you don't need to get in early on this one. I mean, I hope if you really have high conviction in the stock, I would have hoped that you bought the dip at the 80.
All right,
Other than that, it's like,
yeah.
it might be a little too late.
So you're looking at possibly 17% more for the rest of the year then. Okay. All right. Let's move on to the next item. We got Airbnb. And I think last time you got it right there, Senior Hefe. Senior Hefe, you were on the show May 12th, like I said before. And let's see, if we drag the chart here to where we are now, it's up 5% at the peak. Earlier in the week was like 8%. So it's getting back up there from its steep fall of 212. What's your opinion on Airbnb? Has anything changed since you were on the show last month? And where do you see in the next 6 months?
Yeah, I mean, I know I was on Airbnb looking for a campsite or a cottage for the long weekend coming up, and the platform looks completely different. They've overhauled it. It's good UX. They kind of overhauled the actual layout of the app, so it looks a lot cleaner. They've announced they have over, I think, 100 new partnerships with different companies and businesses and stuff around the world. So interesting to see where that plays out. But yeah, I mean, it's not up a lot. Looking at the past month, it's up 2.3%. Last 6 months, up 5%. But I'm in this for the long haul. Airbnb, I think by end of the year, in the next 6 months, I can see it going up. Up to 20, 25%.
Really, 25%? That would put it at, let's see, 180. So $40 more on this stock.
I mean, honestly, like, people are skeptical of going to big resorts and big hotel chains. They want something a little bit more private, a little bit more customizable to their liking. So I can see Airbnb overtaking those big hotel companies, like we talked about on the last episode. So like the Hiltons and the Ramadas and stuff like that. I can see Airbnb being that next like big dog that people want to kind of go to on their vacations.
Okay, fair enough. Ace, what's your opinion on Airbnb?
Yeah, totally agree. I have the shares at like 180, so I wanted to buy the dip, but I need to hold off a little bit. But I'm going to buy more into this actually, and I have both cash secured puts, a lot of them, and I actually do have calls on it too. So I'm really bullish on Airbnb. I do think I actually have the same thing as Senior Hefe. I was looking up lodges, I was looking up maybe cabins or something like that. And I do see one external risk, which is the competition coming in. There's a few of them, but they haven't become household names. But there's a few of them coming in already. I saw one. I mean, in Canada, so I saw a Quebec Airbnb that was like purely for Quebec, and I was like, "What is this?" And then the one that you mentioned, Bub, which is like, I can't see. Here's the thing. Without a good name, they're not going to go anywhere. But it was like Verbal or something. I forget.
VRBO. So let's just move on to that one. It's owned by Expedia. VRBO. So VRBO is the Airbnb type. Expedia owns it. So you know how Expedia, in the past you'd book your flights and stuff through them. So now they have a. I don't know what you call it, but they own VRBO. It's a subsidiary. Right. So they own a bunch of things too. They were out shopping during the pandemic and they bought out a bunch of fledgling companies as well. So they are a heavy contender in the space. And they have also, let's see, since January have gone up 38%. Wow. Expedia itself, that's a lot. And it looks like they are at a market cap of 25 billion, putting up a fight against Airbnb. So what's your opinion on that, Hefe? Let's go to you and then go to Ace on the competition with the Airbnb. I mean, things are opening up again. People are possibly booking flights. What's your take?
Yeah, so Vrbo was acquired by HomeAway, so I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with HomeAway, but they were kind of like the OGs of the kind of the home rental space. I think they were big before Airbnb. Airbnb was like the sexier option at the time, but HomeAway was more like kind of cottages. It kind of more of a simplistic layout website. I don't think there was an app for it, not that I saw, but I used it in the past, 5-6 years ago. But then they were bought out by Expedia, and then obviously Expedia started Vrbo. So it's still new to me. I don't know a lot about Vrbo. I mean, obviously it's very similar to Airbnb, but it will be interesting to see how the two battle it out. Like I said, there's a massive market for these home rental vacation getaway opportunities. So I think there's room for both to succeed, but I think Airbnb, people are more familiar with it. Expedia is kind of like that big company. They own everything. They own a lot of it. They're everywhere kind of thing. So, I mean, people might want to veer towards Airbnb because they specialize in kind of home getaways. Yeah. But no, we'll see. We'll see where it takes us.
Yeah. Ace, did you ever try the app VRBO?
I did. It's pretty good looking, I gotta say. The only thing that I would say on top of that is just I don't know, man. Airbnb is a household name now. It's hard to beat. The thing is with Expedia though, they do have they could couple some of the options they already have. So like I already have points with Expedia. I might actually use that on Vrbo if they offer that. And I'm sure that they do. So you know what? They could combine their previous assets and technologies with this one. So it's possible. I really do think they need some rebranding, though. I'm never going to use an app called Vrbo.
It's like a pet app for some reason. It sounds like something to do with pets. Vrbo, like maybe like gerbil. It sounds similar.
Vrbo. Hey, they don't want to use Vrbo. Like, if you don't have the name consistent across people, like everyone says Airbnb, it's a household name, right?
Yeah, it's like I'm going to Google something. It's like I want to go to Airbnb. It's synonymous now with home getaways.
I like that idea about using the points because I had a lot of points in the past with Expedia. I didn't know what to do with them, but if I knew I could book places with them, that could be a thing. And the stock has been consistent. Let me just pull up that chart again. Let's pull up that chart, Jamie. Just kidding. Let's see what this is. There we go. I found this thing, honestly. I found it at the start of the year. I thought they were like no match for Airbnb, but Airbnb took that huge dip while this one was consistent. Like you didn't have to worry about this investment. So actually, I might have to take another look at this one.
I mean, Expedia is holding power, man. They've been around for multiple decades at this point. So, I mean, they've been around. They've been around. Airbnb, I mean, they did have the lockout period, which really sank the stock a little bit because there was massive sell-offs, and then people are a little speculative because it's reopening play. But I think in the end, Airbnb is going to prove out, and like I said, they're the more popular one. So
yeah, they may have more users, which is more money. So we'll see. I mean, Expedia still has to contend with other people. So let's move on to the next topic then. You know what? Let's stick with the whole travel thing. So let me move up. I want to talk about the airlines because Senor Jefe was talking about airlines and how people are starting to book trips and stuff. So tell me more about American Airlines, like where you see them are. They've recovered a ton this year, like in the past year, 90%, but they are ways away from their glory days before the pandemic. So what's your opinion there, Senor Jefe?
I mean, obviously, the American Airlines, like American Airlines in general, not American Airlines Group, they're ahead of the curve compared to the Canadian market just because restrictions there are a lot less strict, a lot looser. So people have been traveling around for the past, 6 to 8 months, where in Canada, things are pretty tight. So I can see Air Canada being a decent play. I don't believe WestJet is public, so I wouldn't obviously say WestJet. That's another big airline in Canada for all you American viewers out there. But I think the airlines would be obviously the, obvious play here, just with a traveling kind of opening up. But also I kind of want to touch on road travel. So, I mean, gas prices, investing in oil shares. So whether it be Shell, whether it be Esso, the big oil companies,
right?
Just little things like that. I think that could be a decent play as well. But the big one here are the airlines. Like I say, I'm looking at American Airlines right now. Over the past month, they're up 8.5%. Over the past 6 months, they're up 37%. So shows that people aren't scared to fly. And year to date, up 55%. So
Yeah,
I can see
that's
that
interesting.
going a lot higher. Yeah.
What do you think, Ace? Is this priced in, or does it have more room to grow? What's your opinion on airlines? I think you were dabbling with them at the start of the pandemic, but now they're more into the swinging and recovery. What do you think?
Mhm. Yeah, American Airlines is an interesting one. They were literally on the verge of bankruptcy. So it's good to see them come back, especially because things are now opening up and people do still need to fly. Now, the interesting part that we're going to see for all airlines going forward is how much business travel is there going to be. So actually, Brian Chesky from Airbnb said business travel has changed forever. People won't even really need to travel. You used to have people traveling from state to state to state in the same day, and I don't think that's happening anymore. I think that the business calls are happening over Zoom and all that stuff. So that's a big portion of the American or the airlines traffic in general. But I know for a fact that tourism is going to make a huge comeback, and it just stands to. It's more of a timing thing, I would say. Can they survive the lower sales for the next couple of years? I think that they will. I think that they'll make a comeback. I'm just not sure about when.
Like, all right, do you think the prices of 2019 will come back?
Oof, that's a tough one. I think 35 will probably be the top for the next 3 or 4 years. To be honest with you.
And that's because of what you had just said about, like, people having confidence in traveling again, stuff
Yeah,
like that.
yeah,
Okay.
and I really want to see that their balance sheet and their cash flow in the next quarterlies and the quarterlies after that, because that'll be what determines if this company is going to really survive and thrive.
Any price targets in your head, Faye, on, let's just say, American Airlines? I have United up next, but let's just stick with American Airlines and move on to the next topic. What do you think?
I mean, I don't expect a drastic change because I'm looking at the price pre-COVID. So you're looking at February, right before the pandemic started. It was
Yeah.
at 29. It's currently at 23 and a half. I see it maybe going up a few points before end of year. And I think that's even being a little fair. So, I mean, this is more of a long play, kind of see where it pans out. But I think, if you want to put some money, it's a cheap stock, put some dollars in there and make a few bucks.
Yeah. I guess my take on this is it looks like if you didn't get in last year when they were at their lowest, you're kind of hoping that it goes higher when things reopen. But I think, like Ace said, it's going to be a gradual return, and then you're going to have all these, like, oh, we didn't do as well as that we did in 2020 or 2019 or 18 or 17, and then the competition was already stiff for these airlines. So you have stiff competition, you have unconfident customers. They're going to offer, like, I think I already saw discounts. Domestic flights. What do you think, Hefe? Like, they were giving discounts. So if they're already discounting flights, I don't see where they're going to get that revenue from in the next year or two.
Well, like you said, there's a lot of competition. So I mean, there's like a dozen or so big airlines in the States. There's only a few in Canada. But with that being said, they have to stand out to the market. So it'd be interesting to see what each airline does to kind of make them unique over their competitors. So I think that's where it can get tricky, and that's where you can find the good buy. Maybe United Airways, does some cool like points system, or has a good social media play, or whatever it may be. That can definitely boost stock prices and win over consumers.
Okay.
I
Speaking
think
of
that
consumer, oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry, just one last thought. And Bob, you pointed it out, right? There's a lot of competition in the space, and I think the competition is so stiff that we're going to see a lot of consolidation. So already in the oil sector, you're seeing, some of the big companies actually merging. Right, that's going to happen with the airspace as well. So, we'll see what happens. I would say exactly what Bob said, which is, hey, if you didn't have high conviction back in October, why are you doing it now? Or put in a lower percentage than you were expecting to put in as an investment if you want to do that. I'm out of it, to be honest. I'm out of oil and airliners.
You're out of oil and airliners. Actually, let's just touch on oil quickly there, because let's pull up the biggest player in the space, and that, in my opinion, would be Exxon Mobil. Exxon Mobil is a huge company in the States, but they have refineries all over the world. And this stock has gone up since it dropped in, early pandemic days. It dropped basically in half, and now it's recovered. Let me just pull up that chart here. So 1 year ago, let's see, before pandemic, right? So before pandemic, it was $69, and it took that huge drop basically in half to 32, sat around 32, 34 in October, and now it's back up into the 60s. You could say that this is because of consumer demand, and people are going jet setting and all that stuff, and getting back on the road. Hefe, you touched on this topic. Why do you think oil is going to go up higher, or do you think this is high enough? What was your take on that?
I mean, just it's the little things that are going to all add up, right? So it's people getting back to the office. They're going to be driving a lot more to and from work. People feel more safe going out to malls and stuff. People are driving a lot more. So I mean, it just makes sense that stock prices are going to kind of go up. Where, like, how far they're going to go up, not sure, because things won't go back to normal the way they were before the pandemic. I mean, the world has changed forever in that regard. So, I mean, you're looking at past 6 months, it's up 43%. We said about the airways, if you didn't buy on the dip when it was really low, I don't see it going up a lot more, especially with these big companies kind of merging as well. So.
What's your play is here? I mean, oil is in demand, just not only for like travel and stuff. I mean, a lot of companies need oil to do their mining and stuff like that. So, especially with now EV in the play, I just don't know if oil can go higher. And would you invest in oil companies now, Ace?
Yeah. Like Senior Hefe said, and you as well, Bub. I mean, if I was going to do it, it was back in October. And I did play around with it. I made a few bucks just like trading it and swinging it. But at the same time, it's not something that I want to hold in my portfolio. Let's put it this way. If I had a diversification across like 5 or 6 sectors, oil would not be one of them until I hit like the 10th sector. You know what I'm saying? So... yeah, not a fan.
Yeah, it's an old man's game.
Yeah.
Old man oil. Old man oil.
It's very true.
So let's get that off the chart then. Okay, let's talk about a topic that is in the news recently, and it's around medicinal, not marijuana, but shrooms. The shroom boom, if you may have recalled.
I like that.
MindMed recently uplisted to the American NASDAQ. It's actually a Canadian company. Kevin O'Leary, I'm sure you've heard of him, Shark Tank, Dragon's Den, is invested in this company heavily. Don't quote me on how heavy that is. I don't know the exact number. He's an investor. He's been promoting it as well. But what they specialize in is medicinal shrooms that will help you, cognitive, if you have depression and stuff. Now, as we reopen, if you didn't have a good support network or something, you may be seeking help, and there's a lot of outlets for that. But Mind Medicine has made a point that a lot of people in the pandemic may have been suffering in mental distress and stuff. So do you think there's a market for shrooms, or is this going to be like weed where you kind of, it's just like they go up and then they go down and then you kind of never hear about them, in my opinion? What do you think, Senior Hefe? And then we'll go to Ace on his opinion on Mind Medicine and the shroom boom.
I mean, I want to get on board with this, but it's so hard because I've heard from pretty much everyone is, first of all, to not invest in weed. It's like the worst thing to invest in. I'm looking at Canopy. If you bought 5 years ago, you're laughing. But I mean, over the past 6 months to a year, it's all down. So, I mean, the skeptics are right. With shrooms, though, I feel like it's a new thing. It's a little taboo. People are, microdosing is the new craze. Everyone's doing these little tabs of like shroom oil or whatever it is. And instead of taking like a whole shroom and getting fucked up, you're taking a little dose to kind of put your mind at ease and put yourself in a better state, whether it's for, concentration or just to cure depression or whatever it is. Obviously, mental health is a massive thing, especially coming out of the pandemic. But I mean, Kevin O'Leary is investing, so it's like, why not jump on the train, right? It's like he knows stuff, but I don't want to buy. I don't want to be naive about it as well. But it's cheap. I'm willing to put some money into it because it's only about $3 a share, $3.62. So why not jump on the train?
Market cap is 1.46 billion. What do you think, Ace? Is this overpriced? Is this worth it? Is this something that's going to be in demand post-pandemic? What do you think?
Yeah, I'd say so. And the reason why I say that is because it might be a little too early. It really depends on when these legislations and the regulations come out, right? So I would watch the regulations very closely. But I think it's going to have an initial weed boom, as Senior Hefe was referring to. It's going to have that. And the reason for that is this is the new thing. This is what, I'm getting recommendations from paramedics, from nurses and doctors to, this could be the thing that relieves your depression and stuff like this, because it does actually help. And now that we're getting better ways to measure this, we might actually see some confirmations in the news, like, a new peer-reviewed report came out saying that mushrooms is the way to go, kind of thing. And there are quite a few already, by the way. So I think that it's gonna take off. Now, when is the big question, and the $1 million question, as they might say, and basically watching them for those regulations is going to be the key there. I remember with weed, I was 10 years too early, and you know what they say: if you're early and wrong are the same thing.
It's funny because I've seen mushroom dispensaries in BC. Obviously, BC is a bit more liberal than most other provinces. We're kind of the California of Canada. So, and I'm looking at, where are shrooms legal, if there are any places. And there's some cities and regions, counties, I guess they're called in the States, that have decriminalized mushrooms. So there's places in California, so Oakland, Alameda County, have decriminalized. So obviously it's still illegal, but you can't be arrested or anything. So I think we're going to get there. I think, like Ace said, it's a little too early to see kind of where it goes. It's all about legislature and see where governments take it. But I kind of like it. Obviously, like I said before, it's taboo, it's new. Weed's been around a lot longer than shrooms, at least in mainstream media. So I'm going to buy. I like it.
Yeah, it's worth I would say it's worth a small investment.
Yeah, for sure.
The big question is when. I just don't know. So we have to watch the States and Canada very closely on the regulations.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you guys have time for one more?
Let's do it.
Yeah, sure.
All right. DraftKings.
Right.
The news recently, there's been legalization across North America for legalized gambling. Do you think this is going to take off? Currently we are in a pandemic. Some people are, slowly making their way outside, but, DraftKings is something that, how it got new consumers in the stock market. People are getting into now online sports betting because you're at home, or you're now more interested in sports than you were before. Think about if you're at home, you probably picked up watching maybe a sport or two, and you went a little dabble into a little bit of hockey betting or NFL. So is DraftKings a strong, viable company to invest in the long term?
I guess I'll go first. I'm looking at the stock right now. DraftKings is obviously probably the biggest name in the sports gambling world. Everyone knows it. It's a great company. It's a good platform. I don't personally use it. I'm not a big sports gambler. I like to cheer for my teams. I don't want to, put any money down. Just makes for bad times. But I feel like there's so many competitors. You have Barstool Sports coming out with Penn Sportsbook or whatever it is. That's doing well. They're opening up state by state. I think that's going to take off eventually. It's only in the States right now, I believe. But sports gambling's been around forever. Mm-hmm. it's not going anywhere. If anything, it's going to get bigger. It just depends on, I guess, competition and I guess legalities, really. Because I mean, sports betting it's a provincial thing, right? It's provincial and a statewide thing. It's not a federal. So is it legal in Canada and the States now?
It depends on the type of sport you're betting, or the type of I can think
It goes
what
by
type of thing you
sport,
can
by
gamble on.
league. Okay, yeah.
Not by league, but by the type of bet you can do.
Mm.
So some things like before you couldn't gamble on a single event. For example, you can't just bet on like a Leaf game. It has to be you had to do like pro line. You have to pick like remember the parlay and all
Oh
that. You have to
yeah,
pick
so pick
multiple
like
teams.
minimum of 3 games. Yeah.
Yeah. So now they're loosening up the laws on that. So if you want to bet on one single event, you can do that.
Okay.
And don't quote me on that, but look into the legislation, and that's why things are picking up for these sport gambling companies.
Mm-hmm.
Ace?
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. I do think that with the regulations opening up, that it's gonna be huge. Um, I'd really like to take a look into the numbers further because I think so. Right now in Q1 of 2021, DraftKings had a revenue of 312 million. Now, if you look at like something like Bet365, which is one of the big ones in Europe, even though you can use it in Canada and the United States as well, they make something like $2 billion a quarter. So you can get 10 times that revenue quite easily if you continue with your marketing efforts, which are doing a great job. I think for DraftKings, it's become a household name. The other thing that DraftKings is opening up to states is their sports book. Okay, so usually DraftKings for the one-on-one fantasy betting, essentially, or tournament betting with fantasy rosters. Sportsbook is more like what Bet365 and the other ones do, which is like you can bet on a particular event or multiple events, parlay them, right? So that is still actually developing more. They're enhancing it and they're actually legalizing it for states. And hopefully it'll come to Canada because I'll certainly use it too. I loved the Bet365 platform, and I'll use DraftKings Sportsbook as soon as it's available in Canada. I think it's just going to keep going up. I like DraftKings. I actually think that it could easily double up in the next 2 years.
Interesting.
Okay, well, yeah, there you have it, bros. I think that was a good comprehensive review there, Ace. I do see the sports legalization taking off in this area. So I don't know if there's a lot of competition for them. Senator Hefe, you made a good point there, but I do like the prospect of them making more money. And the reason that they're legalizing it is they see a lot of revenue leaving the country. So Canadians and Americans go to Bet365. They hand over their money basically to the UK, who handles the bet for them. So the UK is making money off of North Americans. So then the governments in North America are saying, why let the money leave when we can retain it here? Just legalize it with DraftKings and the Score Media. You remember Score Media is a big Canadian name. It's now in the States as well. So now they want to keep that money there. But the question is, like Senor Jefe, is the mentality of the sport watcher. I mean, I guess you don't have to be an avid sports fan. You could just be like a bettor who likes to bet on things. Are they going to take it up? Because in Europe, sports, FIFA, like everything there is huge for them, right? They love betting on their sports. So, and you can bet on any sport. Boxing, you can bet on Mayweather the other day. Like, honestly, you can bet on anything. I don't know if DraftKings has that, but we'll see. And I think it has room to grow from here. So we'll see. We'll see. So anyways, I think that concludes our segment there. I think we covered a lot of opening plays, a lot of plays that are on the rise, and let's see where we're at in the next couple of weeks, Hefe, maybe an Ace, and see if we have our predictions correct or not. I think there's a couple things we said no to, bros, but stock bros, do your own due diligence. We are not financial advisors. We're just a couple of bros talking stocks. And if anyone else wants to join the show, wants us to talk about a play, we're here to take it up. And please leave your comments, like, subscribe, and share. Anything else you guys want to say before we close this thing out?
No.
It's all good. All right. Ace, you're on mute.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I was going to say nothing except stock bros. You know what we say. Let's make those gains.
Boom.